In this video, I will describe why I dislike the perk system. I will start with the most objective arguments and then get more and more subjective. Readability. There are two ways in which perks decrease readability. First, you don't know that all of a sudden the enemy has a specific perk, or the other way is that the perk inherently decreases readability. Let's start with the first case. A player should always be able to know what exactly the enemy abilities do. When I see a Sojourn orb in front of me, it should either always slow me or never, cause that information is crucial for my decision making on whether I can walk through it or not. When Reaper's wave ends, I should know if he has increased movement speed after or if he does not. Cassidy was always a hero that is not very threatening at range, but as soon as he picks the Silver Bullet perk, he can all of a sudden 2-tap someone from a distance he couldn't before. Then there are also perks that inherently decrease readability. The Soldier Stim perk is inherently less readable than his biotic field, which leads to his opponents not knowing that he is healing himself right now. Other examples are, when Sigma uses Kinetic Cycle, it becomes way less readable when he has Rock. Or when Enwin uses Short Fuse, it becomes way less readable when her Inferno Rushes have run out. And before Emre equips Heatsink, it is clear that in 5 seconds this ability will have run out. But when he has that perk, one can't rely on that anymore. I think these examples make it clear that in terms of readability, perks are a big downgrade. Snowballing. Perks are another thing that lead to snowballing additional to ultimates. It feels bad after losing the first 2 fights that the enemy team has ultimates and perks and their own team doesn't have either. Also, the difference between snowballing with ultimates is that to actually use the advantage, the team has to use and therefore lose their ultimates at some point. So eventually, the team that has all the advantage first will lose that advantage. Now that I have already shown you 2 downsides of the perk system, I have to ask myself, why is this system in the game? If there is something that makes the game feel better overall, then why would it make sense to wait until half the game is over to improve the experience? This also works the other way around. If there is something that makes the game feel worse overall, then why would it make sense to put it into the game at all? Just cause some BS is hidden behind a mid-game progression system does not make it feel better to interact with. Balance. The base kit of some heroes gets nerfed because they have powerful perks, but using the base kit of a hero is more interesting than just getting a buff in the middle of the game. Here's an example of Winston's base kit getting nerfed because of his perks. Quote, with the introduction of perks, Winston has been overperforming. By adjusting his survivability, exchanging some of his armor for health, we aim to bring him in line with other tanks, without significantly impacting his overall gameplay. End quote. So what is the point of adding a perk to increase survivability, and then nerfing the survivability in the base kit? Then why did you increase the survivability with the perk in the first place? In this case, the developers said that perks are the reason for this nerf. But there are also other cases where they don't say that perks are a reason for the nerf, but it still feels like if a certain perk would not exist, then there would be no reason to nerf that part of the base kit. Would Genji's deflect cooldown have gotten nerfed if the mediation perk wouldn't exist? Ball also probably only got nerfs to his HP because the adaptive barrier perk exists. Decreases depth and fun. Some perks make heroes more boring. For example, Ashe's remote detonator perk just removes the skill shot of hitting the dynamite. Also, Wrecking Ball's hangtime perk makes him feel worse to play because it takes longer to slam and it does not fit his getting in and out playstyle. Even the Steamroller perk makes him feel worse to play because I don't wanna be extra incentivized to boop tanks for extra damage. In his case, both major perks are actively working against the gameplay identity Ball has. Why would you force a movement hero to either slow down his movement or make it unnecessary to dodge cooldowns, since the cooldowns can just get blocked with the adaptive barrier perk? Solutions. First solution, which I would like the most, is to completely remove the perk system and make perks that improve gameplay part of the base kit, like it already has been done for the Juno headshot perk. Second solution is to remove the progression part of the perk system, make perks pickable immediately, that will remove snowballing, And it also helps with readability, since how an ability works does not change in the middle of the fight anymore. If none of those two solutions get implemented, then at least fix the following two issues with the current system. First, make perks pre-selectable in spawn room. There's no reason to force players to select a perk in the middle of the match if they are always picking the same perks anyway. Second, make it possible to switch perks each point switch on control, or fix the bug abuse of leaving and rejoining the game to be able to switch perks anyway. Thanks for watching.